Hello everyone, I am Jerica Calanog and I will be the one to present to you the sonnet from the Portuguese by Elizabeth Barrett Browning. This is an English literature. So first we will know who is Elizabeth Barrett Browning. So Elizabeth Barrett Browning was an English poet of the Victorian era. She was best known for her sonnets from the Portuguese, a collection of love poems that she wrote for her husband Robert Browning. She was born in Durham, England. Barrett Browning was a prolific writer from an early age. Her first published work was a collection of poems entitled An Essay on Mind, with the other poems, published when she was just 14 years old. Despite of suffering from a chronic illness, she continued to write and publish throughout her life, achieving a critical acclaim and popularity during her lifetime. She was a well-known writer and a literary reviewer during the Victorian period. Her writing is feminist in nature, and she is nevertheless best known for these romantic sonnets. So, the sonnet from the Portuguese is a collection of love sonnet published in 1850. This is focused on Browning affection for her husband, famed poet Robert Browning. It is deliberately obscure to disguise the personal and romantic nature of the poetry. It is also comprised of 44 sonnets. The sonnets collection reflects her shift from depression to joy and hopefulness. She credits her husband with making her feel alive again and giving her the courage to explore the world outside of her family home. So, out of 44 sonnets of Elizabeth Barrett Browning, I took one that I will explain, which is the Sonnet 43, which is entitled How Do I Love Thee. So this poem has a structure of 14 lines, which is a typically characteristic of a sonnet. But we need to look at the rhyme scheme to determine what type of a sonnet this is. So in this case, we can see that the rhyme scheme is A B B A, C D C D C D. So this means that the type of sonnet we are looking at is an Italian sonnet. And another characteristic of an Italian sonnet is that it's split into two groups. The first group is an octave, which means that from the first line to the 8 lines, we called it as an octave, a group of 8 lines. And 8 lines have a certain rhyming pattern. As you can see, that it is also followed by a rhyming sestet. So 9 lines to the last, we called it as sestet, which is, if we count this 9 lines to the last, it consists of 6 lines. So we called it sestet. And also it has a rhyming pattern of its own, which is the poem has metrical pattern. It is an iambic pentameter. So if we analyze in the first line, how do I love thee? Let me count the ways. So the poet is actually responding to a question that she has been asked by someone. The person asks her, how do you love me? She says, let me count the ways. Now that the poet is going to mention just how much she loved this person. It is interesting to note that the word count shows us that there are many ways in which she loved this person. So many that she needs to count them. I love thee to the depth and breadth and height. My soul can reach. My soul can reach when feeling out of sight. Here she is telling us that her love knows no boundaries, that nothing can measure it. She described her love as being a never-ending measurement, and it is as deep and wide and tall. So, as her soul can reach, which we assume is infinite, because the soul isn't a physical thing that can be confined that can be confined. There is no end. It is infinite. So here, it is basically saying that she loved this person unendingly. And this is actually a metaphor because she is comparing her love for a person to a never-ending measurement. So at the last part of line 3 and line 4, in line 4 ends a being called imply. What happens after death, the poetry is referring to an end of being. So after someone dies, an ideal grace. Someone dies, ideal grace. So over here could be referring to the afterlife. Or in this case, heaven, the poet is saying here that their lives and the poet and their spirit go to heaven. Or ideal grace, the poet will love her beloved even after death. She has an immortal love and it will never die. So, in the fifth line, is I love thee to the level of everyday's life. So she loves her beloved in ordinary everyday life. So in the sixth lines, most quiet need by sun and candlelight. So in six lines, she it means that she needs him as much as she needs other basic necessities of life. So while in the seventh lines, I love thee freely as men strive for right. So in this line, in the seventh lines, we can interpret this as people strive to do what is good, right. While the eighth lines is I love thee purely as they turn from praise. So we interpret this as people don't accept praise from others. They remain humble and have humility. While that in lines 9, I love thee with the passion put to use in my old griefs and with my childhood faith. So in lines 9 and 10, she loves him with the same intensity and passion that she has for things that she hates and cannot stand. Basically, she's saying that she takes all of the energy for anything, either good or bad, and she put it into her love for the person. She loves him with the same intense emotion her faith or religion gave her as in her childhood. I love thee with a love I seem to lose. With my lost saints, I love thee with the breath, smiles, tears of all my life. And if God choose, I shall but love thee better after death. So, this phrase, we interpret this as the poet, she loves him with everything that she is of her being. And if God allows it, she will love him in the afterlife. Her love will continue to grow even after death. So, the poet love is so strong that even death could not end it. So the tone of the How Do I Love Thee is about love, adoration, and devotion. So that, as I mentioned earlier, this structure is composed of 14 lines, which is typically a characteristic of a sonnet. Also, the rhyme scheme is ABBA, ABBA, CD, CD, which means that the type of an Italian sonnet. Next, the summary of How Do I Love Thee poem is it is about a powerful expression of love that she has resonated with readers for generations. The poem's beautiful language, religious imagery, and heartfelt sentiment have made it a beloved classic of English literature. So that's it. Thank you for listening.